How did you get in here?
Merlin does a lot of growing up in the second part of the series. What we've seen previously in the first half is nothing compared to where he goes in the second half.
I started out as your typical stuck-up kind of princess type, and now I've got huge amounts of change.
How could you betray me?
The hints of what I'm becoming are now being seeded through. I'm just becoming this she-wolf for a child and this protective person of Arthur.
When we first meet Arthur, he's quite the lad. As the series has gone on, he's matured, he's found himself with a lot more responsibility.
You need to sleep.
The way Gwen's developed is that she's probably become quite a lot bolder than she was before.
There's enough food for 3 days.
You know the storylines they get stronger and stronger.
In episode 7, you start to see that Morgana has magic powers. As legendary, you obviously know that she becomes a sorceress, and it's been a much slower burn in this show, which is great because you get time to know her as a person before you get to know her as a sort of a magical entity. And you first see in episode 7 that she can tell the future.
As far as she's concerned, she has terrible nightmares. Nightmares that seem worryingly close to things that happen.
Roll sound, please. And action.
Well, if you need anything, just let me know.
Thank you.
Who is that?
Oh, Sophia Tim. We rescued her in the woods. Well, Arthur did most of the rescuing.
She can't stay here.
The king said that she and her father were welcome in Camelot. Is everything okay?
She attempts throughout the episode to try and make everyone believe her that she actually knows that he's going to die. And she convinces Merlin and Gaius, who have always suspected that she had magical powers.
I've been watching Morgana since she was very young. And though I tried to persuade myself otherwise, I realized that some of the things she said she dreamt came to pass.
And eventually they end up saving her, but she's left questioning whether she did all dream it or she does actually have these abilities.
She's accepted Gaius's explanation that that's all they are. They're just nightmares. She just needs sleeping draughts, and that's unfortunate.
I had another dream.
I see.
She predicts in dreams that Arthur is going to be killed by this beautiful fairy who's played by Holiday Granger.
I'm Sophia. This is my father.
Arthur Pendragon. At your service.
I was actually really excited when I first heard I'd got the job because I'd heard a lot about Merlin. There'd been such a buzz about it. And I knew Bradley as well before, so I knew he was having a great time. And it was just great to know I was going to be a part of it and playing Sophia as well, because I've never played an evil character before.
My name is Ulfric, heir to Tiamor. This is my daughter, Sophia.
Sophia and her father Ulfric they're not quite sure how you pronounce it. I think it's she creatures.
We're dealing with the she.
That does not sound like a good thing.
They're masters of enchantment.
They've been banished from Avalon for some mysterious act that Ulfric's committed.
Your punishment for killing another she is a mortal body and a mortal life. You will never be able to return to Avalon.
They're forced to live a life of mortality unless they can sacrifice their life of a prince. So they're after Arthur, so they can swap his life for their life of immortality.
An immortal life for my daughter is all that I desire, so I promise you the soul of the greatest prince of all, Arthur Pendragon.
Arthur is in for it come episode 7. He's going to be susceptible to the powers of Sophia, who is attempting to bewitch him with her witchcraft and pretty much succeeds, but thanks to my pal Merlin, I don't quite snuff it.
My thought about that is it feels like there's 3 guys all running together and they all arrive at the same spot. They need to be more staggered.
Okay, thank you. Want to go checks and shoot next?
Yeah, it's getting a bit heavy there now.
And action!
What the hell do you think you're doing? Sorry.
I had quite a few discussions with directors and producers before I started, just because there were so many ways that Sophia could be played. And when I first went to the auditions, I imagined her to be different to how I've eventually ended up playing it, because she could sort of be a sort of evil, sexy femme fatale, or she could be how she is now, quite sort of sweet and innocent, but with an evil, slightly selfish side. I usually play quite nice or sort of girl next door characters, so it's great to be able to get my teeth into a real sort of evil character. She's got a sort of few different sides.
And action.
You okay?
Yes. Thanks to you.
They were searching for the bandits that attacked you yesterday. Yeah.
Don't touch that.
Sorry. Maybe we should go back.
It's fine. I'm sorry I was upset. Now, don't let this spoil our day together. We were having such a nice time. Let's go down to the river.
Father would never forgive me if I let anything happen to you.
With Arthur, what episode 7 allows us to do is we see a slightly softer side to him in a way that, you know, in the opening 10 minutes we see a softer Arthur who's sort of attracted to this young girl, so he sort of lets his guards down.
You sure you'll be all right?
Yes. Thank you for today. Good night, Arthur.
It's nice to be glammed up as well. It's like a girl's game of dress up every day, getting my hair done and getting this costume on. It's really good fun. This dress is lovely, actually, except I have to wear those knickers that come right up to your boobs because it shows every single lump and bump, the silk.
Take one.
Go, they are waiting for you.
I don't understand. You're coming too.
Only one of us can pass through. This was never meant for me.
I only wanted this so we could both return to Avalon.
Your destiny lies on a different path to mine. It is my fate to live a mortal life.
I don't want to leave.
You must. Once the ceremony begins, you have to go through with it. The elders expect a soul. If they don't get his, they would take yours.
I don't think she's completely evil. I just think her and her father have a mission, and they're maybe slightly self-centered and a bit selfish and just don't think about Arthur's feelings in this. I think they slightly look down on mortals. They want to get back to their gods, their sheed creatures of immortality.
And action.
I feel like a bit of an elephant under this because I'm about 4 inches bigger than I usually am because I've got 2 layers of wetsuit on. But it's working, it's doing the job, it's keeping me warm, so it's fine.
I presume for insurance reasons, I think they had to go so far into the water before they had to change me around for a stunt guy. So whether he's in bed at home now with malaria or something, I don't know. I was in chainmail and the 13 layers that I put on whenever I'm wearing that, and then underneath that I had wetsuit. At the time I thought sort of needless layers of clothing, and then I got in the water and I was like, oh, this is great. And after about half an hour of being in the water starts to sink into your feet and you're freezing and the sun goes in, and you suddenly think, oh, I'm suddenly seem to be lacking the enthusiasm that I came into this river with. But again, it's one of those things you get to do when you do a job like this. You get to dress up as a knight and stroll around in the lake in the middle of Gloucestershire. So that was great fun as well.
Action.
Court augurs flat.
Ombregdan.
Swelt Goldbeard.
In the Camelot we have created, it is a world where magic exists, but certainly for the last 20 years, and in our minds at times before that, Uther in the kingdom of Camelot has banned it. It is his pet hatred. And he's banned it on pain of death. Basically, anybody caught having anything to do with it is executed. The reasons for this gradually emerge in the series, and they're very good, and they're very personal reasons for Uther.
Il s'appelle Laurent. Il est le executioner. He's actually a very nice man.
Uther's got this slightly OCD thing about magic. He is a bit obsessive about magic. He has suffered at its hand. So therefore he's once bitten, twice shy. He won't suffer magic anyway.
Roll sound, please.
And stakeholder B.
Sound speed.
3198, take 2, A camera only.
And action.
People of Camelot, the man before you is guilty of using enchantments and magic. And under our law, the sentence for this crime is death. We're still searching for his accomplice. Anyone found harboring the boy is guilty of conspiracy and will be executed as a traitor.
It all makes sense to me as far as the magic thing is concerned. To a great extent, the people who are drawn to magic, because they're actually largely against Uther, they are all rather bad in his eyes. Mostly the people that have got a grudge to bear because he's banned magic.
Let this serve as a warning to your people.
Let your fear of magic turn to hate.
I pity you.
I can't watch this.
They're out for his blood. They don't want Uther around, so kind of rightly or wrongly, he cuts their heads off.
I play a druid type fellow called Sedan, and we make Uther very, very nervous because we have magical powers, and he fears that we're going to overthrow his empire that he's got here, this fantastic castle. And I've been trying to keep safe a young prodigy called Mordred, who is still safe and being hidden in this castle.
For rehearsal, please.
We wanted to begin the Mordred mythology, really, and start the Mordred story off, because ultimately in Arthurian legend, we know that Mordred is the person who kills Arthur, or is certainly responsible for the beginning of Arthur's death.
Have you forgotten how to knock, Merlin?
The gods are after him. I didn't know what to do.
My lady.
Sorry to disturb you, my lady. We're searching for a young druid boy. We believe he came this way.
I haven't seen him.
Merlin is faced with a huge dilemma over boy Mordred, who we don't know is Mordred until I meet the dragon and he tells me that I must let the boy die.
I need to know why you told me not to protect the boy.
You seek my counsel, and yet you choose to ignore it.
Just tell me why.
If the boy lives, you cannot fulfill your destiny.
What's he got to do with my destiny? You said it's my destiny to protect Arthur.
Then you have the answer you seek.
Which for Merlin's a big thing because it's a little kid, seems to have a similar sort of ability as him and similar sort of magic, and I'm sure he's been in a situation before where people have wanted him to die because of having similar powers.
Action.
Have you forgotten how to knock, Merlin?
The gods are after him. I didn't know what to do.
Mordred becomes a large part of Arthur's fate, but without knowing that, Arthur finds himself in a situation where he's got his father on one side.
He's just a boy. What harm can he do?
He's a druid, and that makes him dangerous.
Telling him to, kill the boy.
It's really necessary to execute him.
Absolutely necessary.
And his conscience on the other side. We've got to save this boy.
It's suicide. You must go to my father and apologize. Dine with him. He cannot hold you responsible if you're with him when the boy escapes.
You need me if the plan's to work.
At this stage in the series, we really wanted to expand and explore Morgana's character in more detail. And we kind of know from legend that Morgana, again, is implicit in Arthur's downfall. But what we wanted to do in season 1 was to make her a very empathetic character, a real person that cares about humanity and people's rights.
We have to get the boy back to his people.
No, forget it.
Jeremy, our director, describes episode 8 kind of like a World War II drama, because there's a lot of covert hiding to get this child away from those who are trying to persecute him.
We're coming.
There's enough food for 3 days.
Your horse is fed and watered. I'll take you to it.
No, there's no point in all of us risking our lives.
What about you?
I'm the King's Ward. I'll take my chances.
Morgana, I couldn't live with myself if anything happened to either of you.
We must go.
It's a very maternal side of Morgana, because she's attempting to save this child who's been condemned to death for being a druid, a user of magic.
Halt or I'll run you through. Show yourself.
Let him go. Beg you, he's just a child.
You see for the first time Morgana really standing up and actively, rather than sort of furtively getting everyone else to sort of do what it is that she wants, slyly going to Arthur and asking. She's taking a very active role in trying to save the life of this child. And she does get caught and has a showdown with Uther.
There's a really good scene with Morgana, with Katie, when Uther really loses it with Morgana. And you first time you see him as kind of dangerous, not quite, you know, he's out of his zone.
35.50, take 2.
Good.
And action. All this time, you were hiding the boy in my own palace. How could you betray me like this?
I would not see him executed.
I've treated you like a daughter. Is this how you repay me?
I did what I thought was right.
You think it's right to conspire with my enemies against me?
How is this child your enemy? He's just a boy.
He's a druid.
Is that such a crime?
They would kill me.
Morgana is not backward in coming forward, and obviously he's quite a kind of strict tyrant in a way, and isn't used to having people, probably especially women, standing up to him. And she gets quite feisty and sometimes quite aggressive, which I think he's kind of not used to. He's suddenly got this kind of daughter really who he's having to look after.
35.50, take 3.
Hit it. Action.
They would see me dead and have this kingdom return to anarchy. You would help them.
Then punish me. But spare the boy. I beg you.
She increasingly disagrees with Uther about many things, and is one of the few people who actually stands up to him.
Make arrangements for the boy to be executed tomorrow morning.
No! Please, he's done nothing.
Let this be a lesson to you.
Don't have to do this.
Do you hear me? I want him executed at dawn.
Yes, Father.
She is a very passionate and individual person who doesn't accept the status quo and doesn't really like the status quo. And her journey is very much coming to terms with those feelings of rebellion.
Did you hear me? I want him executed at dawn.
Yes, Father.
What have they done to you? Why are you so full of hate?
Enough.
I will not hear another word. Do not speak to me until you're ready to apologize for what you've done.
Her relationship with Uther becomes increasingly troubled during the series, and ultimately becomes more or less a complete rift develops between them.
This is the beginning of the end of their relationship in a way, I think, between Morgana and Uther, in that Morgana can't forgive Uther for what he's done.
I promised him I wouldn't let anything bad happen.
You can't blame yourself. You tried your best.
It's not enough.
We still don't know where Morgana comes from. Uther is her guardian, she's his ward. She's a little bit of a mystery. She has magical powers, just as the legendary figure Morgana does, even though at our stage, these are very embryonic. They're yet to fully form.
I don't want you to fight tomorrow.
You're worried about me?
I don't know what it is. Please, I'm begging you.
I have to do this. It's my duty.
Episode 9, Nimue goes into the dungeons and all the tombs and brings one of these dead knights back to life. And it transpires that this dead knight is Uther's brother-in-law, who blamed Uther for the death of his sister, Igraine. And he has come back to claim what is his vengeance, which is the life of Uther, or his son. Either way, he just wants him to suffer like he did.
Yeherame wan knit awak.
What we want to do in episode 9 was to reveal to the audience the truth of Arthur's birth. And the fascinating story behind Arthur's birth is that we learn why Uther banned magic.
I used the magic you so despise to give your barren wife the son you craved.
Don't ever speak of her in that way.
Uther takes it personally and basically thinks that it's, you know, anybody that is drawn towards magic is evil.
You began this war when you threw me from the court and slaughtered all of my kind.
You brought it on yourselves. You practiced evil.
I was your friend, Uther. You welcomed me here.
You betrayed that friendship.
I did as you asked.
You know, people keep telling me how mean Uther is, but the thing that I like about the way they've written this show is that they've made him a multi-dimensional character. He's not just your two-dimensional peevish baddie. He's got very good reasons for most of what he does, and sometimes he's very wrong. Sometimes he's right.
We didn't want Uther just to hate magic for an illogical reason. We wanted there to be an emotional reason as to why he banned magic.
She was my heart, my soul, and you took her from me.
She died giving birth to your son.
There's lots of interesting twists. We learn this complete, that in a way that Uther is this terrible hypocrite, that he used magic, and then when he didn't like the price he had to pay, he banned it throughout the kingdom. So his doctrine that, you know, magic corrupts and you can't control magic is true to a certain point, but actually his real hatred of magic comes from losing the woman that he really loved.
You knew that one day this business would come back to haunt me.
Not quite so literally.
I should have listened to you. You said that no good would come of using witchcraft at Arthur's birth.
You wanted an heir, you thought it was the only way.
Nimue told me there would be a price to pay.
You weren't to know that that price would be Igraine's life.
Uther is a man who is very damaged by what happened to his wife Igraine when she gave birth to Arthur.
I cannot let Arthur die.
Then you must stop the fight.
No, I will take his place.
He blames himself for it, and his relationship with Arthur is really racked with guilt and difficulty because of those events.
Do you solemnly swear to govern the people of this kingdom and its dominions, according to the statutes, customs, and laws laid down by your forebears?
I do, sire.
He's never had or formed a proper relationship with his son because he associates his son's birth with so much pain and tragedy.
I think as Arthur grows up, I think he's becoming more aware of perhaps the weaknesses of Uther, perhaps specifically in his lack of ability to sympathise on both sides of a story.
Let battle commence!
I think as the series has gone on, Arthur is starting to find his feet of his own ideals and what he imagines Camelot to be and what he wants Camelot to be.
And now, and the death now.
I think it differs from Uther's Camelot, so we're starting to see the emergence of that in Arthur.
Why did you stop me?
We have to give our knights the chance to prove themselves.
Seen how this stranger fights.
And Sir Pellinore is more than a match for him.
He's not recovered from the wounds he suffered at Athandon.
I can't help that.
So you send him to his death?
It was his choice to take up the gauntlet.
His father completely fails to sort of emotionally engage with it. He never tells him he's proud of him. He never tells him his achievements are great. He spends most of his time criticising him.
How can you be so stupid? I'll revoke the challenge.
No.
Tonight's code must be upheld, that's what you told me.
This is different.
Once a challenge has been laid down, it cannot be
You are
rescinded.
Crown Prince.
There cannot be one rule for me and one for all the rest.
I forbid you to fight.
You want me to prove that I'm worthy of the throne. I cannot do that by being a coward.
No, Arthur, this will be your death.
I'm sorry you have so little faith in me, Father.
Arthur!
Uther would probably say that's what he needs to do to train Arthur to be a king, but that's not really what he needs to do. He's not a good father like that, and there are reasons for that. Arthur, partly because of that, is obsessed with winning his father's approval on every level, and yet frequently completely disagrees with his father. He has a much more generous view of the world than his father, and he has a more generous view of kingship than his father, although he's often frightened of expressing that. That is what he feels. So Arthur's battle is, yes, to win Uther's approval, and yes, to deal with the levels on which he disagrees so strongly with his father.
Who will take up my challenge?
The development comes from Arthur realizing that there's a lot to learn from his father, but it's not that everything his father says is gospel. And from the words of Morgana, from the words of Merlin, Arthur is presented another side of the story, and he has that ability to sympathise with both parties in whatever event turns up that week and disrupts things.
As we go through the 13 episodes, the relationship between Arthur and Uther changes, I think because Arthur sees a more vulnerable side of his father. I think because Uther sees his son becoming a man. Obviously their relationship up to this point has very much been, Arthur's been a pompous idiot, and he's learning from Merlin, and he's learning from experience, learning through life. So we're seeing the characters grow. The Dark Knight, yes, the fact that Uther steps up to the plate because it's his son that's threatened. If it was someone else, he probably wouldn't. But he sort of basically steps up and is counted. He just happens to get lucky because of the sword.
I think there's a real development for the audience and for Arthur, who suddenly become aware of what Arthur means to his father.
You mean more to me than anything I know. More than this entire kingdom, and certainly more than my own life.
I always thought that...
What?
Was it... I was a big disappointment to you.
Well, that is my fault and not yours.
You see that side of Uther that does care, that shows that more sensitive side to him, other than the paranoid side of things that is constantly on the defensive. He sort of opens up a bit more.
You should join us for training. Sort out your footwork.
I'll show you footwork.
It's really cool watching people recognising Colin and Katie and Bradley and Angel. You know that you're onto something that's good and that's successful when people who've not been recognised in the street before all of a sudden are.
I hadn't been recognised by anybody. Somebody sort of queried almost, with really sort of uncertainty to it. Are you on TV? And that was the first person who's recognised me.
Whenever we had the screening at the IMAX cinema, it was the first time I got out of the car and I looked, and a bus literally just passed. I was about to walk into the cinema, and that was a bit of a strange experience.
Obviously, when you're working on a series like this, all you're doing really is coming to work and trying to do the best you can. So maybe now kind of we're finished and we're kind of going back out onto the street. Maybe we'll get a couple of people recognising us and stuff, and then hopefully it'll open doors for us all in the future.